Well, good morning or good afternoon, whenever you're watching our podcast, Bullish on Business. And today I have the pleasure of talking to Michael LaBlanc, the owner of Breeze Hill Greenhouse in Traverse City, Michigan, and founder of a new small business IT consulting practice. After more than 3 decades in leadership experience and 20 years in IT, information technology, and even service as an A-10 crew chief in the U.S. Air Force, Michael took his skills from the corporate and logistics world and poured them into something very local, hands-on, and alive, a seasonal greenhouse, business focused on annuals, perennials, herbs, and vegetables. At Breeze Hill Greenhouse, which opens each year around May 1st and runs through early July, Michael combines strategic planning, systems thinking, and deep understanding of operations to create a business that serves both gardeners and the broader community. Now, with his small business IT consulting services, and his reputation as a true Excel wizard, he's helping other business owners bring the same level of clarity, structure, and analytics to their own operations. We had the pleasure of meeting at Oops. How you doing today, Michael?
Hi, Rose. Doing well, thanks. Thank you for that intro. That was very nice. I appreciate it.
Well, you deserve it. You've had a great run and you're going for it even stronger now. And it was so nice to meet you a couple of months ago now, I think it's been, at
Yeah, yeah,
Oops.
yeah. No, that exactly. That was great. I was so happy to have met you there.
Yeah, well, it's been you've been a real avid. You haven't, I don't think you've missed any meetings. You're really
Yeah.
dedicated now. I think you're a true oopser. I appreciate that. Well, let's jump into your story. And before we jump into the questions, can you tell us a little bit about you as a human, maybe about your family or about, just your origin story a little bit? Because, people like to learn about people and who you are, where you're coming from before we jump into the nitty gritty about business.
Certainly. Well, I grew up in a little farming town in Wisconsin, and from there, joined the military. Pretty much out. Went to college for a couple of years. Decided that I wanted to see the world. I was actually planning to join the military anyway, so I joined a little bit earlier, and spent 7 years in. Worked on the A-10, as you mentioned. Met my wife, and she was working down in Las Vegas. She went down. She's a teacher, and she was having a hard time finding a job here in Michigan, which is where she was from, because they were only at that particular time they were only hiring teachers with experience, and with her just being out of college, she didn't have any experience. So she had mentioned to one of her principals that interviewed her, and he said, "You know what? You go down to Wisconsin or go down to Nevada. They are screaming for teachers right now. Teach for a year, come back, and we'll give you the next position that we have open." So that's what she did. She moved down there. I just so happened to be stationed down there. That's where we met, and I guess the rest is history there, right? We moved back here, back to Michigan, Southeast Michigan to be exact. Raised our family, have two amazing kids, a 23-year-old and a 27-year-old. And they both have amazing, one has a fiance, the other one is a girlfriend. And we moved up here to Traverse City, and have not looked back since. Just absolutely love it up here. So love being part of a small town again.
Awesome. Well, what a great story. And it sounds like you both got lucky when you went to Vegas. I'm
Well,
sure
I certainly did for sure.
that's not the first time you've heard that joke.
No, right?
Wow, I can't believe you worked on the A-10. So you've gone from managing mission ready of an A-10 aircraft in the Air Force to running a seasonal greenhouse. What was the turning point that led you from aerospace and IT to owning a business in the
Um,
greenhouse? And take as long as you want. This is your story.
all
This
right.
is
Well,
really
thank
the
you.
meat.
Well, you know what? It's kind of an interesting story, right? So my son, my youngest, my 23-year-old Trevor, was up here in Traverse City in the flying program here at the college, and just so happened to be we were trying to decide whether we were going to put him in the dorms or get him a condo here where we could come and stay with him when we come to visit. And this business, this greenhouse, came up on uh, a company. And basically, I had a subscription to a company called Biz Buy Sell, which is essentially like Zillow for businesses that people are trying to sell. So this one popped up, and it's 5 miles from the airport, which worked out great for him. And I was kind of looking for a career change at the time. I had gotten up to the point of management, so I wasn't developing uh, like I used to, which that's where the fun was for me being
Yeah.
a software developer. And so it just so happened this came up for sale. Took a look at it for a couple of weeks, months, and decided to come in, take a look at it. And, the rest of it was just history. It just happened so fast. Next thing I know, we were moving into the house here on the property. So on New
Um,
Year's Eve.
huh.
So yeah, it was just sort of happened, and it just sort of felt right.
Wow, what a
Um,
great story. That's
Thank you.
amazing. So did he continue and become a pilot, or did he decide to join you with the company right away?
Yeah, no. So he continued to fly for a while, and he was just working on a solo at the time. He was just trying to get the hours. He had a few bouts of kidney stones, and
Oh,
one day the commandant kind of pulled him in and said, "Hey, you being this young and having as many bouts of kidney stones you have is not normal, and there's a really good chance you're not going to pass your next flight or medical or flight physical." And so, he said, you really need to think about what you want to do. And if this is right for you. And if you're not living and breathing it right now, you may want to look for another career path. So he took some time and thought about it. And next thing I know, he was asking, to be part of the greenhouse.
well, there you go.
So I'm working, daily with my boys. Jackson is sort of the seed manager. He handles all of the seeding and logistics as far as that goes. Grows them in the germination house, and Trevor handles the younger one handles the operational piece of it. So he essentially doles out the employees' responsibilities every day.
Wow. Wow.
So,
We talked a little before we went on camera about family business. And I thought what you said about, how you are all teaming together was quite profound in that you guys all work together. And that's really cool. It's kind of like um, one of the American staples in the United States is a family operation. And I think that's what you guys have going, right?
right? No, absolutely. The previous owners of Breeze Hill were very excited. I think that they wanted their son to take over the business, and it's sort of their legacy. And he settled in. He got married out of college. He settled in Seattle and loves his life. He's well set there. He's got three children, and his wife is there. So they were, I think, a little bummed
Mm.
when that did not come to fruition. So they were very excited to know that my sons, this legacy is not only just from me, but their legacy is going to continue to the next generation when my boys take it over.
Wonderful. That's
So,
awesome.
and it is a full family business. My wife is a teacher here in Traverse City, but she handles all of our custom plantings. My daughter-in-law handles a lot of the workshops that we have. So it truly is a family business, and it's been great. We've loved it.
Awesome. Wow. Well, what is the why behind Breeze Hill? What personal or market insight convinced you that this was the right business? Seasonal greenhouse in Traverse City after such a long career in IT. That's a quite a pivot.
It was a huge pivot, Rose. I grew up like I said, in a small little farming town in Wisconsin, and I loved farming. I really did. And I looked at all the things I was running uh, torches and air compressors and grinders and welding equipment, by the age of 10. And I look at what that did for me, right? You just had to fix the problem. And so that challenge was pretty amazing. And I think it turned me into who I am now. And I always kind of felt sort of bummed that my kids did not experience that. So when this came up, it just was a great opportunity to give the boys the childhood, even though they're a little bit older than I was, but gave them the experiences that come along with farming. And I know this is micro farming versus macro farming, so I didn't touch every single you know kernel of corn that I planted, when I was working, the farms around my where I grew up. So this is micro farming. It's completely different, but that agricultural seed was still planted in me, and I really did. I just love it. So it wasn't as far of a. It's kind of getting back to my roots, I think.
Well, I
No pun
understand what
intended.
you mean totally about giving your sons hands-on experience so that they understand how to fix things, how things operate, how to work with their hands. That is a rare gift these days that you're giving your sons. I know that as a woman, I always love it when a man can handle a hammer, can handle a wrench, can do some of the things that are needed. And so they are going to definitely be handy. And I'm really happy for the fiance and the girlfriend and your wife. I'm sure they're very happy you guys know your way around the garage and the barn. So let's talk a little bit about seasonal model and strategy. Breeze Hill is open roughly May 1st through July 3rd. How do you think this strategy and planning for business that has such a tight, intensive seasonal window, that's quite a short window.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? That is very, very difficult, especially when it comes to budget and planning. Right. So, trying to forecast out, everything that we need to have cash for is a little crazy. And it's been very difficult to get used to. We open to the public, like you said, about May 1st, to July 3rd, but we actually our employees start planting February, like the middle of February. It's usually the week just after Super Bowl. So we spend from the middle of February all the way through April, preparing and growing, everything. Most of what we have is from seed, which is why we start so early. Um, and then we have 13 greenhouses here on property. We jam
Wow.
them up with as many plants as we possibly can. And then we open up and hopefully sell them out before July 3rd. So yeah, there's a lot of planning. It's fast and furious. You're right about that, Rose. But it's fun. It goes by so quick because it is just so fast.
So do
Um,
you sell to other other farm markets and things like that, or do you only sell to the consumer?
I would say we probably sell 98% of everything to the consumer, so it's mostly retail. We do a little bit of wholesaling at this time. That's something, in our future endeavors that we would like to get more involved in. And then we also do sell to a couple of greenhouses around the area, and that's another avenue that we would like to look into. A lot of places don't have the facility to seed their own products like we do. So it's what we're finding also is that the plants that are grown here from seedlings, tend to do better than, say, for instance, things that we're growing out in South America or downstate, right? I mean, they seem to be a little more hardy when you grow them in this environment up here.
Awesome.
So they tend to
Well,
last a
that
little
sounds
longer.
like a really great line of business, because it's more local. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
that's very intriguing. So bringing IT discipline, the thing that came to my mind when I heard about your tight window is that you must be so efficient. And so
Hmm.
let's talk about bringing IT discipline to farming. With your background in data warehousing, analytics, and enterprise solutions, what systems or tools have you brought into the greenhouse world that most small growers probably aren't using?
The one that have been working on for the last couple of years is basically everything from inventory management all the way through sales. So I really want to see a history because I am so data minded. I really want to be able to aggregate the data to see what plants are selling around Mother's Day, which plants are selling around Memorial Day, which colors are selling at those times. And it really helps me get in tune more with my customer, right? Because I can see where those trends are, and I can work on that for the previous or for the next year. So that's probably one of the biggest, is the inventory management and just see how things are going out the door. Prior to this, the previous owners were they did not use technology in many areas, right? In fact, actually, I remember the day that we closed on the greenhouse, they brought this reams and reams of paper and said, "Here are all of our orders for next year. Let us know if you have any questions." And I was just really overwhelmed with that.
Yeah.
So that was the first order of business, is to get that into a electronic version that I could very easily report on, so that I'd have a better understanding of what's going on.
Mhm.
So I did feel when I bought this place, I felt like a kid in a candy shop. There are so many places to be able to use technology that we did not before. So, and as I've gotten into the agricultural world and specifically greenhouses, I'm seeing that a lot of smaller greenhouses don't have those kinds of technologies.
Hmm.
So, and it's just something that I'm passionate about. I want to help small businesses understand and use technology to be able to have a better understanding and make good, accurate decisions, based on that.
Mhm. Well, I think you've got an opportunity there, in your niche of greenhouse. When I worked for IBM, they would have us focus on an industry, and mine obviously was healthcare. And prior to that, though, as a packaging engineer from Michigan State, they had me work in packaging and distribution and logistics. And so they focused us all in an industry. And so if you bundled your greenhouse package of automations that you created, I think now here we are coming up with another line of business, which is so
Right?
cool. That's what we do at Oops, isn't it?
That is exactly
We
what we
kind of
do.
brainstorm. I can't turn it off. Okay, so let's talk about product mix and your customers for a minute. When you think about your customers and they're walking through the greenhouses and they're walking through Breeze Hill, how do you decide on the mix of annuals, perennials, herbs, and vegetables? Like where? And what have you learned about the people and what they really want versus what you had expected?
Right. That is a great question, Rose. And what we have found for the first 3 or 4 years, we are so overwhelmed with running greenhouses, we kind of just kept it a static quo. Previous owners did things in a certain way, and so we did that too. This is the first year that I feel like we have a pretty good grasp on the greenhouse business, and so we're able to start kind of making our own marks on the place, which has been great.
Mhm.
So originally starting out, we just grew what the previous owners grew. They provided a lot of great information, things that work well, things that don't work well. And now we're at the point that we can kind of start taking a look at that ourselves. And what we're finding is that our clientele, we're getting a new round of clientele, which are a little bit younger, and which is great. That's exactly what we want to do. So we still grow for our more mature audience and what they like. But we're also finding, things like succulents are a big thing to the younger generation, right? So we're trying to dabble in more of that stuff. But we also find just throughout the year, there's things that grow well in our greenhouse, and there's things that don't work well or don't grow well in our greenhouse. So, we try and get new plants in every year. We want to be known for bringing in new things and new items, and keeping things fresh. But we also there's lots of people who come in with all the tags of all the flowers they bought last year, and they want to buy the
Uh-huh.
same exact thing.
Oh, wow, that's
So,
awesome. Wow,
yeah, yeah,
that's really interesting. You gotta balance the new with the old.
right,
Well, let's switch
exactly.
gears for a minute and talk about you and talk about
Okay.
your leadership and the evolution that you've experienced. My goodness, you've led teams in the Air Force. You've led teams in the IT departments down there in Southeast Michigan, and now in small business setting. How has your leadership style evolved across those environments? And what has stayed non-negotiable to you, Michael?
Mm. Uh, so I would say I have been blessed to be able to participate in many world-known high-end management and leadership schools, right? So I have had a great opportunity in life to be able to not only apply what I've learned, but also see what works and what doesn't work. And across the board, Rose, I would say probably the biggest thing is being a leader and not a manager. And there's a big difference. And I aim for that, right? So a leader is someone who leads by example, is not afraid to sweep floors or clean toilets or do any of the other things that you expect the other employees to do. But also giving them the ability um, to do things themselves rather than micromanage them. Once you start micromanaging people, you lose their creativity, and you lose their ability to think outside the box. So my biggest thing is empowering people, giving them the amount of information that they need to do the job, but letting them figure out how to do it. Because I think even as a person, not just an employee, but a person, you have to experience things and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So, yeah, I think empowerment is very important. I think leadership is very important, and you give the right amount of information for them to be able to do things on their own. So,
Wonderful. So, how is it kind of going back and forth between leader and father? How does that work out?
well, there's good and bad days for sure, right? And I do the same thing, right? I mean, I want my boys to experience. If you get told how to do something, you it's really hard to learn on your own, right? I mean, I definitely give advice when I'm asked for it, but I kind of like them figuring things out for their own because those are the things that you remember, right? And you become more efficient as you start going down that avenue. So, so yeah, it's tough, I mean, and I think it's no different than just raising small kids, right? You definitely don't want them to get hurt, but they have to experience things on their own and realize, oh, well, that didn't work out so well, or actually, this is phenomenal. I'll have to keep doing it this way. They have to experience things for themselves. So,
Mhm. Yes,
um,
I totally agree. The thing that I think is really important in that regard is the way you described the leadership and empowerment. And my experience too is that when you do empower your kids, they feel an extra bump of competency because they know you're watching. But if they know you're watching and you're not like in the mix, but they know you're there, they get a little bit of a bolt of confidence because they
Exactly.
know that if they were doing something too bad, you probably would have to step in. So I think that's just precious. Good for you, Dad. So we're going to go back in history a little bit and we're going to go to Ryder and the logistics there. At Ryder, you were solving complex supply chain and logistics problems. How does that experience show up today in how you manage inventory, timing, and risk at the greenhouse? And before you go deep into the answer, tell us, for those who don't know, what is Ryder and who are they? What do they
All
do?
right. Well, Ryder, I work for Ryder Logistics, right? So Ryder has essentially two main, I guess, service offerings. So you have the rental, the Ryder trucks, and they rent everything from small little panel vans to you can actually rent a semi from them. So you have the rental side of things, and then you also have the legit logistics, and specifically we call them 3PLs. So we handle getting things from point A to point B. And as simple as what that sounds, one thing I did find in logistics is it's not simple. There's a ton of things between mechanical breakdowns and weather, and there's all kinds of things that can put that scheduled delivery at risk. And so we were always in the middle of trying to be proactive with things, right? Trying to um, forecast weather patterns before they become problems, or if with the 3PL, third party logistics, we worked with a lot of carriers, and we just managed to make sure that our customers got their deliveries on time. So we were always trying to forecast the what ifs, and trying to mitigate problems before they become problems. And I think that is very similar. That same format is similar in owning your business, right? You're trying to mitigate the risks. You're trying to be proactive, and eliminate obstacles or problems before they actually become problems. So I spend a lot of time on the what ifs, and sometimes it drives you crazy. You can go down rabbit holes, but at the same time, I think being a business owner, you have to be able to assume that things are not always going to go smoothly, and try and figure out where things can go off the rails really quick and take
So
care of
you
it
have
before it
like
becomes a problem.
plan B and scenario planning going
Oh
on.
yes, yes, all the time, all the time, and especially even with us being seasonal, right? I mean, it's you know, one issue that we had this year was that we had a hailstorm come through in June and ruined a lot of the roofs of our greenhouses. So trying to get that taken care of before the roofs are just plastic. They're two sheets of plastic, and there's air that blows between them to keep them inflated, and that's our insulation through the wintertime. Well, in order to get those are usually like 96 feet long and 40 feet wide. It's like a huge parachute. So when the company comes up to actually replace those, it has to be completely calm. Just the least bit of breeze can wreak havoc with them, right? So trying to get that taken care of before the winter hits up here. And, we're so close to Lake Michigan. We have wind almost constantly. So, just trying to uh, I mean, I never once thought about hail damage on it until this
Right.
year, right? So how do you mitigate that and make sure? Because if I can't blow up those roofs, in February when we start, we're going to have a huge propane bill. So so it's just always trying to figure out what's going on and try to mitigate the problems and the risk.
Wow, that sounded like a nightmare.
You know what? I mean, it's just part of owning your own business. You have to be able to take things in stride. It's easy to get lost and overwhelmed and stress out, but in the end, you have to figure out a way around it, or you're not going to be in business for very long. So,
How were your vendors, your construction vendor support? Were they able to accommodate you? Were,
yes,
did you
yep,
need
no
did
problem.
you need a new roof?
Yes. Well, I mean, roofs are typically something that gets replaced every 5 to 6 years anyway on
Okay.
these greenhouses. So yeah, it does happen fairly
Wow.
regularly. Yeah, they were able to step in and able to help out. They came and gave all the dimensions and everything uh, to our insurance company, and everything went smoothly. So
Wonderful. Wow, that had to be scary. So I want to pick your brain a little because you are an IT person and you came into a small business. And because of your IT background, I want to ask you, you had this pile of paper and you were looking at it and you felt like a kid in a candy store, but most people would go, "Holy crap, what do I look at?" How did you know what to track? Like what specific metrics? Money is always obvious, but
right.
sales data, planning schedules, customer patterns. I mean, it's like which number do you want to, what do you plant? When do I open? How many people do I need to hire? You had the past owners probably to talk to, but I know you also are an independent thinker. I can tell that. So how did you decide what to focus on and what data to really dig into?
Great question. So for me, customer service is extremely important. Getting to know your customers, getting to know what they like, what they dislike. That really led me down the path of being able to be able to track, and how do we stay in touch and contact with them, right, throughout the years. Um, and so for me, the most important thing was to kind of get a grasp on what our customers like and what they dislike. And as you know, right, that is, there's so many different aspects. You can ask 10 people their favorite plant. You can ask 100 people what their favorite plant is, and you're going to get 100 different answers. So to be able to see, like say, for instance, I mentioned earlier, right? Um, we had our inventory and our sales were completely separate. The inventory was all done on paper, and our sales was done on a cash register that was maybe one step above a calculator with a receipt. So there really was no tracking what sells when. And so for me to be able to track what are people looking for around Memorial Day, or what are people, who's coming in and buying what during Mother's Day, which that's pretty easy to see. It's a lot of husbands and young kids that are coming in. But like what colors are selling, where do they, what do they buy? Is it baskets? Is it components for planting in flower beds and so on? So for me, being able to tie the inventory to what's actually going out the door was extremely important. So 4 years ago, I think I started it, and it's going to continue to grow and manifest into a full blown sales, like a customer relationship management system.
Nice.
Just able to see what people are buying when. So now I'm able to track things from when they come in the door, or when we've transplanted them inside the greenhouse, and I can track them all the way through the actual sales. So
So
now I have a pretty good grasp on that.
how many different items do you have?
Last year, I believe the number was 87,000. So we had
Wow.
87,000 different, and I call them recipes. Um, and there's probably a better term for it, but recipe just sounds right. So, we have, let's say, for instance, geraniums, right? Well, we sell them in a 6-inch pot. We sell them in baskets, like hanging baskets, and we sell them in floor pots. And so each one of those is a different price point. And to even go further, we have probably 40 or 50 different colors of geraniums, right? So to be able to track at that level, that recipe I talk about is, it's the pot combination with the particular flower color. And so that once I track things at that level, and I produced through Excel, I created a tracking system that now we have new point of sale. So we actually have a point of sale system now, and so it tracks by QR code. So all 87,000 of those recipes are actually in our point of sale system right now. So I can track it to the actual color and, whether they're selling in floor pots or baskets or for components. So.
Well, you bring up Excel, and so it makes me think that you're a Microsoft kind of shop. So I'm curious, have you found any benefit in Copilot, the Microsoft AI tool, to implement anything in your business?
AI has not been something that I've looked much into yet. Though I have to say, the little bit of experience I've had with it has been pretty amazing. I mean, I just the other day I wanted to put in a business plan for another possible endeavor, and what would have taken me 3 or 4 days took me 5 minutes. Which was pretty amazing. And it was pretty accurate too. I had to make a couple of tweaks, but it was pretty accurate. So I do think that there are opportunities there. But with anything, I kind of like to get to know the ins and outs of it before I rely too heavily on technology itself.
Sure. Well, I can see that. Well, because you are known for being a genius in Excel, and I say that you didn't. I said that you
I
didn't.
was going to say you said that, I did not,
I said it
but I
because I've
appreciate it.
watched you advise and counsel, and I've watched you go deep and deeper and deeper, and I'm like, I need to come up for air because you do know that and you can go so deep into Excel. It's an amazing tool. Can you share a couple of examples with us how you've used it to transform, let's say, something that's messy, either in your past IT roles or something that you want to do for other businesses that are struggling? What do you think you can do to bring some of those skills to a company in Traverse City that's not as IT, maybe they're focused on their business and they're very good at their industry. And like you always say, that they have the same problems that very large companies have. Can you give us a little example or a couple of examples on what your thoughts are along those lines?
Certainly. Well, I've always been a Microsoft Office person. Started using Excel back in 1995 when I worked for a marketing research company. I've One of the things I did for them early on was I created a report card for Domino's Pizza. And so that report card, yes, I know, we would call people who ordered, the previous day, and we asked them about their pizza experience, right? So, and this is nationwide, so all Domino's everywhere, and so we would create report cards at the store level, as well as the regional level, district level, and I believe even at the VP level, right? So we had to create a huge hierarchy to be able to roll all those report cards up. So a single store would get a report card, right? But as you moved up the line, say for instance, the regional level, their report card, while it looked the same, had all the data for all the stores that reported up through that hierarchy. So created an application that didn't even look like Excel anymore. And that's the beauty of it, is you can not only with Excel, you're not only you don't have access. Not only do you have access to all the worksheet functions and the native functionality of Excel, but you also can write code behind it in something called Visual Basic for applications. So I was able to turn that into an entire application itself. Like I said, it didn't even the icon didn't look like Excel. And so while I was the database programmer on that, the salespeople could actually run those report cards themselves. That's one example. The other one that I'm using right now, and the one that I continue to use is, I get all of our Excel, all of our inventory electronically from my suppliers. And I am able to, my son, Trevor, actually puts in what he wants our employers or our employees to work on that particular day. So I have a list of every single recipe and who created it, who transplanted it, and then from there I assign it programmatically. I assign it well, it could be a SKU number, but it's a QR code. So it has a long code that is really just important to Breeze Hill. And then that follows that plant throughout all the way up through the sales
Wow.
process, which is
That's
how I can track it
amazing.
now. So
That is
yes,
so amazing. That's a lot like
yeah,
blockchain. They brag that blockchain's going to do something like that, track forever. Well,
right.
that is an awesome story. And you touched on something that is important to me. So I'm going to ask you, one of my heroes is Tom Manahan. Did you ever get to meet him?
I have not. I have not. I do. I do watch a lot from him, and I would absolutely love that opportunity. So if he ever comes to Traverse City, I would love for him to reach out to me. But no, I have
He was,
not.
he's down in Florida. He created a whole city down there. He's doing amazing stuff. Great person. So let's go back to Breeze Hill for a minute.
Okay.
When you look ahead 3 to 5 years, what's your vision?
Well, certainly growth is a very big and important plan of ours. My sons and I have, we spent the first 3 years trying to get our heads wrapped around the greenhouse growing, and this past year the boys started landscaping and flowerscaping for our customers. This year, as you have already mentioned, I am looking to reach out and help small businesses use technology to get them to be able to make accurate and decisive decisions for their business. So we're always looking to grow. Ultimately, I would love Breeze Hill to become a destination place. I don't know if you've ever been to like Horrocks down in Grand Rapids, where they just, got they got a little cafe. They have, a great retail area. Would love to be something like that. So
Oh,
we're
that
always
sounds
looking for other
great.
service offerings besides. Yes, no, that would be awesome. So yes, I also would like to. Every year we try and roll out another service offering that kind of ties into what we do here, which is our core. Our core responsibility, our core value is around plants and horticulture.
Sure. So
So
talk to us a little bit about the workshops.
the workshops. So my daughter-in-law and my wife put on a few workshops a year, mainly out of the requests from our customers. And so my wife will do a workshop where she will show you how to plant a pot, right? Which sounds pretty easy, right? But there's a lot that goes into
Not
that
to
pot.
me.
A
Not to
pot.
me. I do not see this thumb. It is not green. It's blue from ink. So I
Oh, well, you know what? Then you need to come and be part of one of my wife's workshops. So, but there's a formula for it, right? So you have a focal point, which is usually a taller plant in the middle, and then you have, which is considered a thriller, and then you have spillers, which are the ones that kind of trail over the edges. And then you have the filler that goes between the focal plant and those trailing plants. And then color coordination, of course, is always important. So, and then to take into account all the things like you want to add plants that need the same amount of water, because it's very difficult in one particular pot to water ones who need a lot of water and not water the ones that don't. Or whether it's shade or sun. So there is a lot to go into it.
There is.
So people come into these workshops, and we part of the workshop is we give you a pot, we fill it with dirt, and then you're able to go around and shop the greenhouse and find your plants. And my sister-in-law is also a big part of that. So my wife and sister-in-law handle that well. And so that's one of the ones. We call it a make it take it. So you make the pot and then you take it
Oh,
home.
that's cool.
My daughter-in-law is more on the herbs and vegetables. So she does a very similar thing where she will help you make a pot based on the vegetables and the herbs that you like. And then she provides recipes for things like, basil focaccia, or, I'm trying to think of everything. A blueberry lemonade, I think, is another thing that she creates, so that you can try them while you're making your masterpiece.
Oh,
And then
wow.
we help along that whole way. So we're always looking for things like that, things that the customers really want to be part of, and are excited over. And so far, it's been pretty successful. People come in and they just love it. So
It sounds like a lot of fun.
it
So
is.
let's talk about we're going to wrap this up, but I want to leave you any last comments or any thing you'd like to share with our audience before we do wrap this up?
Yes. So you mentioned it earlier. We talked about small business consulting, right? So something that I have discovered since I become a small business is we have the same needs as larger companies, but without the budgets for application developers or data centers or research and development. So I have a huge passion. I spent a lot of time and effort researching everything from point of sale systems to um, applications for our inventory management. And there's a lot of applications out there that are already made, but are sometimes quite costly. And so there's a lot of things that we have access to that don't necessarily require an arm and a leg. So, one of my passions is to help these small businesses um, be able to find ways to fix their needs, or to help discover new ways of doing things without having to spend an obscene amount of money. So sometimes that is the best solution, is to buy something that is already made. But lots of times, especially if you don't need the entire complex solution, sometimes something just as simple as Excel might work out for you. So, I do have a huge passion for helping out the small business owner and realize what they're capable of doing.
So if someone's watching this podcast and they would love to take you up on that offer, how would they find out more about the IT projects that you would help them out with?
Certainly. So one way is to reach me through, either Facebook. We do have a huge presence on Facebook. You can also go to www.breezehillgreenhouse.com, and you can leave a message for us. You can also call us at our business phone and leave a message with either the greenhouse or the landscaping, or actually directly to me, extension 101. And we will get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay, so we'll put that information in the show notes so that if you do want, and it's okay to talk about IT on the Breeze Hill page.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
I
so that's
actually, it's either me or my sons who answer all those. So
awesome.
yes.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. What a ride from A10 crew chief to IT leader. To the heart and hands behind Breeze Hill Greenhouse. Your journey is such a brilliant reminder that the skills we build over a lifetime don't disappear. They evolve, they adapt, and they show up in places we never expect. For everyone listening, I hope you caught the through line in Michael's story. I heard discipline, curiosity, and the courage to reinvent yourself at any stage. Whether you're running a greenhouse, leading a tech team, or trying to make sense of your own next big move, his blend of systems thinking and heart-centered leadership is something we can all learn from. If you're in Northern Michigan next spring, go visit Breeze Hill Greenhouse and experience firsthand how strategy meets soil. And if you are a small business owner who's drowning in data or processes that just don't flow, Michael's IT consulting practice might be exactly what you need to get unstuck. As always, thank you for turning into Bullish on Business. If this episode sparks something in you, share it with a friend, leave a review, and hit that follow button so you never miss a conversation that might just change the way you build, grow, or lead. Until next time, keep charging forward, keep thinking big, and keep building the future you believe in. Thanks again, Michael, for joining me today.
Thank you, Rose. I certainly appreciate the opportunity.
I've enjoyed it. You're a treasure.
Mm.
See you
Take care.
tomorrow.
Uh, Take care.
Okay, bye.